Hi all, it's Kylie from Kylie's Card Craft. Thanks for joining me again today. Another little flip fold pocket tuck. All of the above. 2 sheets of copy paper. Now they can be digitals, they can be plain copy paper. They can be, as I'm using today, coffee dyed, any of your dyed paper. I've picked a couple of really grungy ones that I've got. Love the crinkle. This is what we're going to make. Again, to go in your journal, we've got a generic one, which, that's my chair, sorry. I like to do them so that they're fairly generic, and then I can add them to my journals and decorate as I go. So, we lift out, pockets, we lift over, and we lift out that way, more pockets. What I plan to do, just fold all that back in, grab my journal. Right, this is the journal page that I plan to put this one on. So here's my signature in the process of being done. I do my signatures and then sew them in. I want this on this page, just here. What'll happen is it'll be glued here, here and here. To make another side pocket, you could glue it. That way I make a top pocket if you wanted to. That'll just go in there and be attached in there. So that then I've still got journaling space here. I've got a pocket down here. Fold out that way. Fold there. I want a little pocket in there or journaling. Either way. You've got journaling here. You've got journaling here. Journaling again, and then 2 more pockets. Really easy to make, doesn't add a lot of bulk because I'm just using copy paper, nothing thicker. You could use scrapbook paper, but you're going to add a lot of extra bulk to your journal. So this way, I've just used normal copy paper, coffee dyed, and stamps, because then I can decorate without adding any of the bulk. So that's where that one's going to go. So I'll sit you aside. This is so easy to do. So starting with 1 sheet, I've just grabbed 2 sheets here. I've got a really grungy one, lighter on the other side. And then I've got one that's got tray marks and just markings through them that I like to have just as a little bit of difference. Again, it's a lighter colour on the other side. So I'm going to start with this one. Okay, so all we're going to do, I want my grungy side on the inside. So see how my grungy side, my darker side is on the inside, my lighter side's on the outside. So starting with this one, we're just going to fold it in half. Now I find I tend to do these generic-y type ones. Generic-y, is that a word? Give that a crease. I tend to do these generic ones in a size that will fit the majority of my journals. So if I work on about a 4x6 size, so 4 inches by 6 inches, which in centimetres, I should know it because it's photo size, about 10.5 by 15.5, it'll go into most of my journals. As I said before, that's a full size copy piece of paper there. So yes, it will go in there. But if I go over to a smaller piece in here, and let's go to the second signature, hang on. Oh look, that's still part of the signature. It's a smaller piece, okay, but it will still fit on something like that. So I like to have these done, and then as I'm doing my signatures, you know, I'll make all my pages first, and then I will decorate them. And it'll mean that I can fit it onto anything. So work out your general size that you do the majority of your journals, and then just make generic things. Right, so we folded it in half. I want to measure down here and cut this off at the 6 inches in length. Okay, so I'll grab my trimmer. And I find it's easier to fold first because then it'll fit in my little trimmer. Going along to the 6 inch mark, Usually helps if it's straight, but that'll be fine. Okay. All right, and I will use this for my pockets, so we don't chuck that. All right, so now it's folded in half, and it's at my 6-inch height. So this one, I'm going to fold, I'm going to fold it back on itself. All right, so we're just going to fold this one back on itself. Do it as straight as you can. Mine's probably not going to be that straight because I'm trying to look over the camera. All right, here's this one. I want it back to about 4 inches. So if I set this on my grid, this one's here. Line it up so it's fairly straight. That line there is my 4-inch line. Now you can use your bone folder, your scoring board. You can do any of that. I'm just going to fold it straight down because it's just easier. All right, round about straight. Give that a good crease. That one's in there, that one's in there. That's your basic fold, okay? Nice and easy. So we'll quickly run through it again. Fold your copy paper in half. Trim off the length that you don't want. So bring it to the length, the height that you want it. Fold your top piece back on itself. And this one, fold in so that this middle piece is now the width of what it is that you're after. Okay, so this should be 4 inches. So, going over to our second piece, find the section that you like. I like this with the line from the tray and all the rest. So I want this cut at 4 inches because that's what this section is in here. But when we cut it, we want it just a little bit smaller. So if I mark that at 4 inches and back down here at 4 inches, but when I cut it, I'm going to cut it just slightly inside that line. I can trim it further down later on, but at the moment, so I'll just go to my big ruler. So here's my line, and I'm just going to swizzle it over just a little bit, but then I can trim it down later on anyway. So straight down there. It can be done on your trimmer or make a mark with your pencil, rule it, and use your scissors if you want to. I'm going to set that aside because that will become a few other bits and bobs as well. Not as many. You'll have a little bit left over. Make that back over there. All right, so this is going to become my fold up here. Okay, so what I want to do is tuck this bit over so that I can adhere it onto this. Where are we? Okay. If you look, so that I've got this flap, there it is, attached down there. But make sure that you glue the whole thing down so that nothing's catching when you're popping something else into that pocket. So all I'm going to do is fold this one over, as much or as little as you like. Hope that it's straight. Let's have a look. No, not at all. We do want it straight. It helps if it's straight. So let's redo that. It's only paper. I can refold it and refold it and refold it. That one's better. Right. Right, so this will be attached in here like so. Okay, so if he's sitting in there, that's going to be up like that. So you can see it's a little bit too wide, and this is why I like to trim it down. So this one will fit in here nicely. This one's a little bit wider. Now I'm just going to sit that up there and come down with this. I don't want it all the way up here. I want it down just a little bit, just so that I can still see the tags that are sitting up in here. So I've just gone down this line here and refolded it. And now I'm going to trim a little bit off this end. I can do that on my trimmer. So I'm just going to take a sliver off at a time. You can take more off if you need to. It's just a matter, you've got to remember that you can't put it back on. So once it's off, it's off. Slide that bit under there. Set it back in here. Fold that one over. Yep, that fits nicely. That's still a little bit tight. You've got to remember we're going to have some pockets in here. So let's trim a little bit more off it. Always go back, re-trim a bit more each time. So, just a little bit this time. So, and we're just literally taking slivers off at a time. Slide that bit back up there so that I'm catching this section. You can see that it's a bit smaller than it now. Fold it over. Set it in. That one will fit. They're fitting nicely. I can't feel any bulges in there, and that's what we're looking for. We might get them to fit, but you want to make sure it's sitting flat here and in here. So that's fitting nicely. You can see I've got just a little bit of a gap there. So that gives you a little bit of wiggle room. All right. This one, I want to put a tab on. Okay. So if I set this here, what I like is about 1/2 inch up from there. Because what I want to use is my oval punch. So if you look at my live one, I like to put, you know, your thumb notches in. You can use your circle ones. I like to use the little ovals. And there I've done another one there as a tab. But on this one, what I've done is I've cut my tab, adhered it on both sides. So I'm about 1/2 inch up from the bottom. And that's where we're going to go again now. So if we make a mark, round about 1/2 inch would be about there, I reckon. Let's have a look. Yes. All right. And so we're going to trim that piece off down there. And this is a nice grungy piece, so I will use this to cut all my tabs. So I'm just going to slide that over onto that pencil mark, trim that off. I'm going to use that in a moment for my tabs. So, this one's going to go in here again, like so. This one will fold over. That one will fold. Yep, there is no bits in there at all. It's easier to work on this while it's still unattached. What I'm going to do is ink around the whole thing now. I will actually stop the video and restart it again once the inking is all finished. See you in a moment. Right, so all of that has been inked, including all my folds, okay, so that they look older. That's just a me thing. Don't have to do that. You don't have to ink if you don't want to, but I like the look of the inking. So if this bit goes up here like so, okay, nice and even. This one's going to come down here like that, making sure we can sit these in. That'll fold beautifully. That'll fold, move that over. Right, so we're going to put our glue on here, just our normal white glue. Now, as I said before, make sure the whole thing is glued down, otherwise it'll want to catch whatever it is you're going to put in if you use that back pocket. So you want the whole thing actually glued down. Right. I'm just moving it around so that I can slide it up this way. And we'll do all this, and then I'll show you the stamping section. Technically, the stamping should be done before you put all these in as well. That's not gone very well, Kylie. But it's all right, I'm thinking. Just going to put some more glue on that. Take it the other way. Awesome. Still a little bit wet. That's why I like glue. If I'd used double-sided tape on that, I wouldn't have had a hope of being able to redo it. So we'll go that way. Making sure I'm down enough that that will fold over. Right. That's a better bit. Checking that everything will still fit in. Yep. Nope, because it's meant to be on that side. Oh, I'm doing well, I tell you. I want my grungy side. How did I manage that? Did nobody pick that up? Did anybody pick that up? That's my top now, isn't it? Oh, I'm doing very well. What I want is that bit under there. So we'll do it a little bit different. Watch. It's all right. Third time lucky. Oh, I'm doing so well today. All right. As we were, we're going to glue this down. It's going to go on that side because I want it to look like that. And that's what I should have done. That's where I've done it. I've turned it around there. All right. Moving you over a bit. Going well today. Yeah, that's what we want. There, there, there. I'm going to put something up there. That's not a problem at all. Watch me. Making sure that's now all down there. And that'll be glued in anyway. And I'm just going to make sure that that little section's down because otherwise it catches whatever I've got in that pocket. Even though it's on the other side. Right. Put the lid on that. Right. So, going back, as I was saying a while ago, should always stamp prior to putting these down because it's easier when there's not as much stamp. So, but because I wanted to rush, I didn't. So, first things first, I'm going to stamp on this. I know this is my top now, and I'm going to pop something on there, but I'm still going to stamp over it to start with. I'm just using different script stamps. I love my script stamps because they're so versatile and I can use them for just about anything. So, that's it. As you can see, this stamp is a 4x6. So it's just a little bit smaller than it. But, oh, it's not quite a 4x6. My pocket will go down here. Okay, so this whole thing will just be stamped onto this. Oh, and you can see I don't clean my stamps. Right, so I'm just going to ink it up in a VersaFine Clear, and that's pine cone, so it's that nice dark brown. And it gives it a bit of oomph behind the pockets. You don't have to stamp it. I just wanted it for something a little bit different going on behind my pocket. So you can see I've taken my ink pad to my stamp. Turning that over. Popping it so that it's fairly even on there, but right at the top. Giving it a push, working my way along. There's only going to be sections of this you will see anyway. So if it doesn't come out perfectly, don't stress. And that's what I like about junk journals, that your stamping doesn't have to be perfect. So things like this, and I'll quite often do bits like this. I'll miss a spot. You know, like in here. If you're making a card, for instance, and you're stamping your happy birthday to go on the front of it, you fairly well want that to be perfect. If you're doing a background, you don't need it perfect. We don't necessarily want perfect. I know I don't want perfect on it. I want it to be blotchy and in and out and fading away and things like that. So, right, that's that one. And I am also going to stamp with this one, sit you up there, this piece just here. Okay, now because I'm stamping this piece with this one, I'm going back up like that, you'll see that it would have come over here. So what we're going to do, I've always got scrap stampy bits. Put a piece of scrap, get yourself some washi tape and sit it against where that fold is. Okay, they're not going to stick too well to your stamping mat, but it doesn't have to stay there very long. It's just literally holding it down while you use it. Okay, so I'm just going to ink that one up again. Can you see that one there? Yep, beautiful. And we're going really that side, but there's not that much I missed, so I might as well do the whole stamp again. Right. If you don't have blocks big enough for this, you've got a die cutting machine, use the plates off those, use your clear plates. Right. So sitting that down, I want it right to this edge and right to the top. Again, I'll have a pocket down the bottom. I'm just going to give that a slight weave over, keeping that hand on, another slight weave, and I should still get some variegated bits. Yep, lovely. You can see where I haven't pushed in the centre. I've pushed down the bottom, pushed across the top, because this is my edging, and this is the bit that you'll see above the tags that are popped in there. Right, so that's that one. I'm just going to give that a quick wipe. Right, I'll peel that off because what I want now is a different stamp for the other sections. I'll lift that bit up. And I want a stamp on this one. And I'm going to go upside down so that it's away from me. Okay. I can sit you there like that. And again, I'll use this one. Right, so it's just holding it down. What I've got this time is a small script, just normal writing. It's actually a Alice in Wonderland one. Quite often I will use them on this, just this plastic, and sit them down and push them down. But because I want the strip, it's going to be easier on a block. This one actually has it on here. That's a rubber stamp again. So I've written T for top on there, and I want this section here. I'm just going to sit that down, attach it to my block. Which is stuck nicely to my block. Right. So this time I'm going to ink down here, same ink. I'm going to stick to the same ink all the way through. Doesn't need to be too wide this time. And again, I'm just giving my ink pad that up and down motion. Alright. So I want to go over a bit and right up the top. Again, it's not going to go all the way to the bottom of this page, but what I want is to make sure that my writing is straight. I'm just going to give it a light push again. Like that. Actually, I want it on that side. I'm thinking. Yeah, I want it on that side. Let's go that way. Let's take that off. And let's do that side. That's my top. Ink it up again. This one I do better with because it's such a large stamp by standing. So if you can excuse the squish of my chair. Oh, it's starting to dye my chair. Now I need to make sure that I'm up the right way. Which is that way. That's the top of my thing. All right. And so that I can see that I'm straight on that. See, I'm at the edge, I just move it over and up. And now I'm going to just push down. Because again, I want my wording to go the right way. Look at that. Right, so we've got one more piece to stamp. And that one is this piece. Okay, so with this one, I'll make sure you're in the centre. I'm still standing so you can see all that. Once again, put this one down here against this seam, fold, and this one. These are just old, what do you call them? What do you call them? Paper pads. All right, this one will go down here, go against the fold. Like so. Now I need a larger bit inked up this time because it's a wider section. Making sure we're going to the top again. Turning that over, turning it round, and that's why I have a T marked on my stamp. Technically I don't need to worry about that way, but I do need to worry that I'm right up the top. Like that. Okay, so just pushing areas. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to move the camera. You can get those little things that'll go over your misties or your stamping platforms or your stamps when you're working, and you'll get a really even coverage if you're using those. But if you use your hands, then you'll get darker areas and lighter areas. So let's have a look and see what we've got. See this? See, and I like that. You might not like it. If you don't like it, that's fine. Each to their own. But I like that in-out look. Right, so I'll take this off. Set them back over there. I've always got washi tape sitting around with bits of paper hanging onto it. And that one. All right, so here goes my chair again. Creak, creak, sorry. Oh dear. Right, so now I've got this. Fold, 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 fold. Now we're going to add some pockets. Put this one away. So, got this section that I cut off. Lovely size pockets. And they're going to go in here. So see how that goes down here? Doesn't matter that I haven't got my stamp down that side. So all I'm going to do is find my pencil. Mark it in a bit. You don't want to go right to the edge because it'll create too much bulk where those folds are, remember? We're trying not to look at creating too much bulk. I'm just going to chop that one off. And then I'm going to do another one, exactly the same, so that I can do a double pocket, or 2 pockets on this. Bitch, I'm going to have to go that way. I got sinus really bad again today, and when my sinuses are bad, my eyesight is atrocious. So just bear with me if I have to keep putting things to my eyes. So much so, it's been like it for the last couple of days and getting worse, but so much so that I actually have 2 pairs of glasses here. One pair on, which are only a light one. They're all only reading ones, and then a really strong one for when I can't see anything. All right. So leaving these guys together, we're going to put our thumb notch in there, but we're going to put them in the same spot. So if you keep the 2 pieces together, that's about my centre. If I keep my 2 pieces together, when I punch, they're going to line up. Okay, I don't want much in there. That's why I like the little ovals. All right, so that's those ones. And when I go down here, it matches all this dark edge that I've already got going on in the sheet. So that's one. I may pull out this as well. I may not. We'll see how we go with the editing. I'm still getting used to all the editing bits and pieces. Right, so 2 of those. Add a little bit of white glue again, and in amongst all that, I've lost. No, there it is. I've just got my paper towel that I use to clean my stamps, but it's also what I sit my yucky pin on. All right, so straight down. Right, so 1, these are our centre ones. I know my bottom one I want down there, about an evenish gap around it. Stick that one down. Sorry, did I hit the tripod just then? Right, there's one pocket. This one then can be glued. And I'm going to set this one here like so. I know I've still got this one up here. And actually now all that's actually done is taken away the colour, really, the coffee colour from the paper, from where it was dyed. And it looks like I've highlighted the wording because I've then still stamped over it. So in essence, I could leave it there. I quite like it. Looks like I've done one of those wax crayon, one of the normal crayons. But I will put something on there just to show you that don't freak if you think you've mucked up, okay? Oh, sorry, that's my chair, because I like to sit with my legs actually on the bars underneath, and then I'm sitting over my work. All right, one lot. This one, I'll show you how to do the tabs. I had... All right, so I've got these sitting here. So what we're going to do is cut 2 of these ovals, like so. I'm going to actually ink around the edges, and I'll ink around them before they're all glued together because it makes it easier on the edges. So, 1. It'll help probably if I go and get more ink on my blending tool, but oh well. Right, so with my white glue, just across the top, so only part way down. So I've just glued that amount there. I'm going to glue this side. I've learnt from mistakes with other times. Now, if I go halfway, which puts us at that one, doesn't it? Like that. Okay. Sticking that down. Now I'm going to turn it over and put this one on the top. That way, if it's slightly out of whack, ink around it again, which will help disguise some of the colour, because usually with dyed paper, you've got a lighter colour on one side. But but then it's not right in your face each time because it's not the top layer. Now we're just going to join these two together. Let's have a look. That looks pretty good, doesn't it? Before I glue that completely, let's have a look on the other side. Oh, beautiful. Give that a push. So see how I've got my tab here now that you can pull down. All right, let's put something on this one and something on this one. So we have. All right, so here's my bits. And I'm just going to measure with this one. Again, I don't want them fully. That's about where I want it. And straight down there, so that they're both exactly the same size that way. Now, I can have these smaller and larger. So let's do that, will we? I'll rub off all these pencil marks shortly. So I'm going to do a shorter one down here. That'll finish there. And then my other one is a taller one. So again, I'll chop that bit off there. Means I have, if I put a longer tag, oh, losing my voice. If I put a longer tag in the top, it doesn't hang over as much. So this one's down here. That one's up there. See how I've then got this lovely variegated look. I know that's not the right word, but that's what I like. Where am I looking for? Pencil. A rubber. Rub out that pencil mark. Once again, going to do the same thing and notch these at the same time. Setting that on, finding a centre mark. Which will be about there. Lining them up. Don't want too much taken out because one of those is quite small. But then they're both in exactly the same spot. Might need to put just a little bit. The ink I'm using for these is just a distress ink, of course, and it's brushed corduroy. You can be as much or as little as you like. I find for me it just, see how it then lets that stand out. That's just a me thing. I like my inks. I like my inks and my stamps. Alright, so both of those can be adhered on. The little one, which is on the bottom, will go on first, which then gives me an idea of where I want placement for that top one. Alright. Gluing's not awesome. Oh well. So that one will go right down here. Glue doesn't take long to adhere on. And then our big one. And I'm not overly straight with my glue, so it'll have an even smaller tag in it. All right, so if I go about there, I want it in line with that. How's that? That gives me a chance to have something really large up there. Right, these will all be decorated once I've worked out the rest of the journal that it's going into. As I said, the other one's going into that journal. This one will be popped aside, ready for another journal. So I want something on my front cover for that. This one will sit here. This one will sit here. You can see there's not that much bulk in there. So we'll have one more in here. And I really like this section down here. So, and I'm thinking I want him about that big. So we'll chop that down there. Maybe I'll lift that up. Might make it a bit easier. And then we can work out the size that we want. Right, so that bit. About there. Yep. Again, you don't need to use a trimmer. You can use your knife. You can use your scissors. What is it? You do you. Right, I will need to put a notch in this one. And I'm about there, aren't I? That's my centre. Look, I find, and I'm assuming it's just a little bit left over from OCD days, I need to measure my notches. They're probably about the only thing that I still really measure these days. But, yeah, it's a me thing. Please, if you can, close your eye and just notch it out. You know, I can put up with stamping like that because I like the look of that. But I can't cope with off-centered notches when I'm doing them on my own. And look, I look at other people's journals and I don't even notice where their notches actually are. So work that out. Right. Down with this one. Let's find a pin to go back in that before I go any further and it all dries up. And this one, that's going down the bottom because that stamp didn't fit all the way. You might have smaller script ones and you can just stamp and stamp and stamp. Just follow your pattern down. So there's that one. Now I want a notch on this like I've done down here. Okay, so once again, we're going to do like we did before. We're just going to punch out 2. So 1, 2. Do the same on those as we did with the other one. So whether you've used circles, whether you've used ovals, they will all work just the same. Okay. So just a little bit in there, just highlights them up. Right, so once again, we'll ink our first piece. My glue comes out. See, I knew it was getting to the point where it wasn't going to come out. And this is when I know my eyes are bad, because I can't find the pinhole. Alright, so you don't need to go halfway down because I'm not going halfway over the oval. So I want it on this side, but what I do need to make sure is that I've not covered my pocket. So my pocket's there, which is round about on that line. So these ones are going to be up just a little bit. Okay. So that I'm not over my pocket when I put my other side on. It's about the only thing you need to watch for. All right. And again, this one's not an even halfway up because of that pocket. No. See, we mentioned it was going to dry and it's gone ridiculous. All right, here we go. Can't get up, there. All right, so we're going to match that as much as we can. You've got a little bit of time for wiggle room. I'll turn it over and see what I've got on the other side. Lovely. Now, how hard was that? You've got all this pocket space, you've got all this journal space, you've got all this journal space. And it's still a generic colouring, so it'll go into anything. These are really easy, especially with the ovals, and I think that's why I went to ovals. I like to, I'm also a numbers freak, so let's just pull out this. These are my pre-cut numbers. So they're Tracy Fox from Love Junk Journals numbers. They're numbers that I come across in books. They're all sorts. They're also stickers. Okay, so they'll be just plain number stickers, and I will grunge them up. I have had another video before where I've grunged up stickers. I think it's in my Ghosts of Crafts Past range. If I think of it, I'll do the link. So these have started to be grunged up, but I want them a little bit darker because I've got this pine cone finish. So what I'm going to do is just grab another little bit. Ganache is quite dark, and we'll do the 3 this time. And all I want is to put a little bit of extra oomph on there. I don't want a solid coating. I want it just a little bit. Okay. Double check that that's dried. Yep. Peel these off. Because they're stickers and they're older stickers, I will always put a little bit of white glue, my liquid glue, on them, just to make sure that they've got a little bit of extra adhesion, okay? They don't need much, but I just don't trust stickers. All right, look at that. So that's just an old pack of scrapbooking stickers, your numbers, okay? So how about we do a different one? Move that. Right, so what I've done on this one is I've used, I'm fairly certain that's a Tracy Fox one. That's a piece of scrap. So you'll see in here I have different ones from Printed Digitals. I've got my grungy ones. I've got numbers in there that I've done. Ones that have been out of scrapbook paper. It's just, yeah. See, like these ovals, these smaller ones of Tracy's, fit in here. Lovely. It's so hard to get 2 ovals exactly the same. It's just, it's near on impossibility unless you've got a die set that will cut them for you. So this one matches fairly well. It's not quite the same, but in the long run, it's not going to make that much difference. But what it is white. Don't want white. So I picked up this, which is my antique linen. It always just sits in there. It'll have a little bit of antique linen on it, just to get rid of a little bit of that white. Hasn't got much ink left on it, so I'm giving it a good push. Then that brushed corduroy that I've been using, I'm just going to dab it on. So I'm just rolling it, more or less. And now I'm just going to go around the edge and darken areas. Still want it a bit blotchy. Okay, so what I've ended up with. And so you can see the blotchy marks, similar to the coffee dyed marks. Okay. Now I could go and coffee dye that little piece, or I could have coffee dyed it before I cut them up. But I might not want it that colour to start. Because these are just little add-ons, I tend to like to just change them as I go, so that they match with what I'm working with. And it's just as easy and quick for me to use my inks that sit in front of me. I always have antique linen, brushed corduroy, and then gathered twigs or walnut stain in my darker ones, so that I've got a light, a mid, and a dark. My dark one tends to change depending on which one I've got newer at the time. Right, set that one on there. Okay, now I promised you we'd do something with this. So just get rid of that. I want long add-ons. I could stamp something, you know, you could sit more of this along. Where's the fun in that? So what I'm going to do is put a strip of something there that looks like it's meant to be there. Okay, so if I go to Timmy Words, let's have a look. See how some of these are longer? Orders attended to day and night will fit there nicely. I've got a little piece of that left over, which I can grunge up and sit on there. So I'll grab another stamping mat. We'll grab a block to do that one. Yep, need that in front of me though. I will use, now we used the pine cone for all the others. If I use pine cone again, it will look too blended in. So I want to do it in something different. So pine cone's fairly dark. Technically, I could use any other colour. I might use the green because that tends to go with these grungies as well. So let's use Shady Lane, just because it's sitting in front of me. All right. And that way it's definitely different from what I just did. So I'm just going to stamp that on there. Right. Sit you over there, close you, put you back in there, put you back up there, make sure you're dry, beautiful, because it sinks into this copy paper just beautifully. So that fits really well lengthwise. What I'm thinking I might like to do is tear along it, so that it looks like an embellishment and not something that I've just got to cover something up, which is what I've done. Okay? But my length is fine. So I can tear further down from this if needed, because it is a tight little spot that we've got left. If I'd set that pocket down further, would have been even easier. So let's have a look. Doesn't go all the way to that, so I can tear that little bit and tear that little bit. Now I can work out where I need to tear bits off. See how that's going to sit in there? Just make it a little bit smaller in sections. This is where nails come in handy. Yes, I could use my water brush, which technically is sitting in front of me, isn't it? So let's use that. I want to take off a little bit there. All right. I know. Not going to just really wet that. There we go. I just want to pull it out so that it looks really torn. Let's have a look. A little bit off that O. See, I'm liking that. I had so much glue on my fingers that now all this paper has stuck to my fingernails. I'm actually going to turn it upside down so that it's closer to me. Right, that's our hour. That side works a treat. This side, I might just take off that other little bit there because I like the top section. Am I still in shot? Yep. Right. Like so. Upside down. In here. in here, and in here. Look at that. Now, if I just very carefully along that edge, and then we can make it look even more like it was a meant-to-be thing, because the rest of this will be decorated, and I will just put little clusters, little words, numbers, things like that in and around those sections. So, my liquid glue. Okay. Sit you back there. Making sure I'm going upside down. Look at that. So now, you would never know that I'd torn all that. You cannot see anywhere where that was torn. So it's just a matter of, don't freak when you've glued it the wrong way and you've peeled it off and it may have torn it or anything else. Just look at how else you can do it. Okay, so how's that? They are very easy. They will come out differently each time, depending on the paper you use, the stamps. If you've used printed digitals, it's going to look completely different again because they're an all-over pattern already. 2 sheets of copy paper or A4 paper, letter paper, 2 sheets of digitals, whichever way you want to look at it. And you've got an awesome little file ready, sitting in your little containers to go into your next journal. Okay, hope you've liked it, guys. Until next time, happy crafting. Please subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. If you've liked this one, give me the thumbs up. Let me know you've liked it. Thanks, guys. Bye.